Welcome back to Built for Weekends, the show for people who work all week and build their lives around getting out on the weekends. If you own a truck or are thinking about starting a truck build for camping, fishing, road trips, or just getting out of town, this episode is going to be a lot of help. Today, I'm breaking down my top 5 must-have accessories for any weekend truck build. And these aren't just nice to haves or Instagram mods. These are upgrades that actually make your truck more capable, more organized, and more enjoyable to use. If you're early in your build, this episode will save you time, money, and a lot of trial and error. Let's jump into number 1. The number 1 must-have accessory for any weekend adventure setup is a proper rack system, either a bed rack or a roof rack. This is the foundation of almost every functional truck build. A rack instantly increases your usable space and gives you options. Suddenly, you're not limited to what fits in the bed or the cab. You can carry bikes, a canoe or kayaks, recovery boards, cargo boxes, rooftop tents, whatever fits your lifestyle. One thing I see people do all the time is buy the accessories first and then try to make them fit later. And that almost always leads to frustration, extra costs, or compromises. My advice is simple. Choose your rack first and then build everything else around it. Also, think about how you will use your truck. If you're hauling gear every weekend, a bed rack might make more sense. And if you're using the truck for daily driving with weekend adventures, a roof rack could be the better balance. Get this right, and your entire build becomes easier and more modular. As an example, my weekend adventure truck build is an F-150. I'll go over it in a later episode, but I've spent the last 6 months adding smaller mods to make getting packed and on the road easier. My plan to start the build was to get the bed of the truck set up with a tonneau cover and then a rack system for a cargo box. I went with the Retrax Pro XR tonneau cover, and the reason for this retractable cover is its design has a set of rails along the side to mount a set of crossbars across the bed low down. So access was easy for a cargo box for the snowboarding trips on the weekend with family. Also keeps the box lower than the cab for better aerodynamics. Now this is just an example of get the rack and build the rest around it. Number 2 is going to be secured storage. And this is where a truck build really starts to feel dialed. Whether it's a drawer system, lockable bed storage, or a dedicated organization setup, storage changes how you use the truck day to day. Loose gear sliding around is more than annoying. It wastes time, creates noise, and makes setup and tear down stressful. Nobody wants to unload half their truck just to grab one piece of gear. Good storage keeps everything in its place. It protects your gear from weather and theft, and lets you pack the same way every time. When looking at storage, pay attention to weight ratings, lockability, and weather resistance. Cheap solutions tend to flex, rattle, or wear out quickly, especially if you actually use your truck. The biggest benefit here is efficiency. When packing and unpacking becomes easy, you're more likely to get out more often. And that's the whole point of your weekend truck. Number 3 is quality lighting. And this one is often underestimated. Lighting isn't about looking aggressive or overbuilt, it's about safety and usability. If you've ever set up camp in the dark, loaded gear early in the morning, or dealt with bad weather on back roads, you already know how important good lighting is. This can be ditch lights for trail visibility, bed lighting for loading and unloading, or rear-facing scene lights for your campsite. You don't need lights everywhere, you just need them in the right places. My rule is fewer lights with better placement and better quality. Cheap lights will scatter everywhere, usually causing glare, wiring issues, and disappointment. When you need light, you really need it. This is one of those important upgrades that doesn't seem important until the first time it saves you. Number 4 is power and charging. And this is what turns a truck from something that looks capable into something that actually is. Between phones, coolers, cameras, air compressors, and other accessories, modern weekend trips rely on power more than people realize. The good news is it doesn't need to be a complicated or expensive system. It can be as simple as adding some reliable 12-volt outlets, bed mounted power, USB charging, or using a portable power station and solar panels. Having dependable power means fewer dead devices, less stress, and more flexibility when plans change, whether that's staying an extra night or dealing with unexpected weather. Power adds confidence to your trips, and confidence is what lets you enjoy the weekend instead of worrying about logistics. And number five is comfort mods that actually matter. This is where a lot of people either overdo it or ignore it completely. Comfort isn't luxury, it's usability. Things like seat comfort with heated seats in colder climates, all weather floor mats, good cab organization, basic weather protection, all adds up. You use these things every single drive, not once a year, every time you get in the truck. A build that looks great but feels uncomfortable to drive gets old fast. Comfort mods are what make long drives easier, cold mornings manageable, and daily driving enjoyable. This is where your truck starts to feel like your truck. Well, the biggest takeaway from this episode is simple. You don't need to build everything at once. Start with how you actually use your weekends, focus on function first, and build it in phases. A good weekend truck isn't about doing the most, it's about doing what works for you. So if this episode helped you, share it with someone planning a truck build. Make sure to follow Built for Weekends so you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.